back to It's All Light. I'm your host, Natalie Baugh, and today's guest is Kaleen Trout.
Hi.
So, Kaleen and I work in the temple together on Thursday nights. I think that's where we met, right? Have we met outside of the temple?
Yeah. No, I think it was at the temple where we met.
Yeah, and then one time I showed up to go paddleboarding, and lo and behold, she was there, and it was awesome. So we hung out too, outside of the temple. So, Kaleen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm originally from Southern California, kind of split between Southern California and Vegas growing up. And so I love the sunshine. I love being in the water. Definitely a desert girl through and through, not a lover of the snow.
Mm.
But I have learned to love some things about it. So yeah, that was kind of growing up. And then I did my undergrad at BYU, Idaho. I studied physiology there
Wow.
and then headed straight to grad school as a wee little 21-year-old.
Wow.
So I went to grad school at Weber State and
Nice.
got my master's in athletic training and then went straight into working and
Whoa.
worked in college football.
Is athletic training
And
like wrapping people's ankles and stuff?
yeah,
I mean,
that's
obviously more than
probably
that, but that's
what people would associate it with.
right.
It's about 1% of the job, but yeah, it's athletic trainers work under the umbrella of sports medicine. So anything to do with
Mm-hmm.
orthopedic evaluation, preventing injury, all the emergency medicine, all of those things are kind of fall within athletic training. So yeah, did that in college football for a really long time and then was transitioning kind of my roles in college football and now I work in the sports medicine department at the MTC, so it's
Oh,
so fun. I get to
cool.
take care of all the missionaries
That's awesome.
and I still do a little bit of work with college and professional athletes, so I still get my little fix of sports
Cool.
when somebody needs me, so it's been really fun.
That's so cool. So when you started out doing physiology, did you know this was the direction you wanted to go in?
No, I went to when I started school, I knew I always wanted to do something medical.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was a nurse. I just grew up in a very like medically friendly household. Like we just talked about things, and medicine always interested
Love that.
me, and the body always interested me. And so I was really more so. I'd probably say I was thinking more pre med, and then I had really high dreams. I wanted to be a surgeon and do all the things, and then didn't want to be in school for 14,
Yeah,
years.
totally.
And I actually ended up taking a sports medicine class, and the professor had reached out to me and noticed that I kind of had like a knack for it
That's awesome.
and she asked me to apply to come work for her. And
Whoa.
so
Cool.
I did. And then she was the reason. Shout out to Jody. Jody's the reason I do what I do.
That's awesome. So that was at a sports medicine clinic?
It was actually, so yes, but it was on the BYU Idaho campus.
Oh,
So
nice.
took care of all the students there.
That's so
So that was
cool.
really cool.
That's awesome. What have been like top three lessons you've learned in this industry?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say first and foremost that everybody is a human being and everybody wants to be cared for as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And working in athletics, people observe athletes for what they do as an athlete.
Right.
And I work with athletes as people and I treat them as people. And I see the side that them as an athlete is a thing that they do and it's not who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody deserves to be treated as a whole person and not just as someone or something that they do.
Yeah.
And seeing the way that the athletes have to live their lives, and people who don't even know them have expectations of them, and there's so many things demanded of them. And I am in a very rare position to be able to help and care for them. And so to be able to really just lead with the premise of, regardless if you ever step on a football field again or throw a football or whatever you decide to do with your life, I'm going to take care of you 100%. I'm not taking care of you because you play football. I'm taking care of you because you're a human being and I care about you. And so I think learning that and being around that has helped me in my everyday life to just see people for who they are as a whole person. And we might see a glimpse or, one part of who they are, but everybody has a whole life that they're living. And I don't think we take that into consideration as much when we're learning about people and talking to people and interacting and, making assumptions about people.
That's cool. You see the
So
back end. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would probably be the number one thing.
I love that.
Number two, I don't know, this might just sound silly, but everybody always thinks they know everything and they don't. And I just noticed that with, someone on Twitter, whatever, has an opinion, or they put out a report about what's wrong with somebody, or, this situation, that situation, and so and so said this, and this is who's her. And you're sitting there like, they don't know what's going on. And, they're just grasping at things because they have to put out a story. And it was funny to me while I was working in athletics how many reporters would follow me, like, on my personal social media accounts, as if I was gonna put out something, that would give them, oh, this is, something going on the inside. I would never do that. But so just, it has taught me to take anything that I read with a grain of salt. Not everybody knows everything. Social media can be a very big fat lie. And third, I would say just learning to be confident in myself and my abilities and not letting anyone strip that confidence from me. Not in a way of not being able to learn or ask questions or things like that, but you get to a point, especially in this profession, that you have to be really confident about the choices you're making and the things you're observing and your communication of that and the ability to make a decision and move forward. And it can be really scary, especially if you're in a game time decision and you got, however many people in a stadium staring at you, plus the other hundreds of thousands watching you on a TV. It's like your decision everybody is going to see. And so you have to be really confident in what you're doing, and it's okay to be confident in what you're doing. And that's something I always try to push on my students. Is sometimes I think people blur the line of confident and cocky, and there definitely is a line to flirt with there, but there's nothing wrong with being confident in yourself, and you should be, especially if you are working in a profession that your decisions has an effect on somebody's life. That you should be confident in yourself and your decisions. That should be a requirement.
That feels true for probably most of the medical field, I would imagine, huh? Like probably your mom is a nurse too.
Yeah.
Wow. Did the pressure ever get to you, and how did you overcome that?
No. I thrive under pressure. I am the personality, which is really interesting within this profession, because you'll have students who will go through a program and you'll get them as a clinical preceptor and you can pick them out so fast just based on personality if they are going to thrive or not. Because you have to have a certain personality. You have to have the personality that thrives under stress. When you're in a stressful situation, you have your checklist. It is here are the things I'm running through. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I need, who I need it from, and this is the way we're going to do it. And one, two, three. And also with that, the ability to stay calm and
Wow.
clear in your communication. And I don't think it's definitely a skill that I have practiced, but it's also a skill that I was just naturally born with. I don't want to make it seem like I just worked so hard and now I'm so good at it. I've really just been blessed with that's how my personality is.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's something you can learn and practice and hone in on, and it's something that I still continually do work on. But it's no, the pressure, the lack of sleep definitely got to me, but the pressure, not so much. Also, I think it would really surprise people when you're put in an emergency situation. It surprises you how subconscious your decisions become. Like you're so much smarter, and your innate nature to take care of someone kicks in more than I think people would realize
That's cool.
if they had never been put in an emergency situation. Also, adrenaline is an amazing thing and gives you the ability to work through an emergency situation. I would say probably the thing that's gotten to me, not so much the pressure, but the exhaustion after an emergency situation. Just the rush of it, when the rush of adrenaline stops and the situation is done and everything is handled and cared for, and all is said and done, and your body lets down, it is a level of exhaustion that I cannot explain, of just letting it all go. And then also the constant replaying of what happened and going back through your checklist. Did I do everything right? Did I miss something? What could I have done better?
That would be hard.
And the balance, really the balance of the situation is what it was and it's done and over and you have to move on. What can I learn and move forward, but also not dwell on, because I've got to get on to the next thing. I'd say that was probably the hardest thing that I've had to learn, is the moving on. It's done and over. It's taken care of. We have to move on to the next thing.
So most of these high pressure situations, high stress, is like during a game and an athlete gets hurt, or is it also during practices?
Oh, everywhere. I've had emergency situations in practice and games, happened in the weight room, just in general, things that have happened on campus or off campus, right? Just accidents and things. And I've dealt with it everywhere.
So after your graduation at Weber State, what did you do for work? You were saying you jumped right into work, and I'm assuming a lot of these experiences was from that.
Yeah, so I went to BYU football. I worked for BYU football, and that's where I was at for a long time.
That's awesome.
Which was so fun. Learned a lot, worked with some incredible people. The sports medicine staff at BYU are some of the most incredible human beings I've ever met in my life. And they are people that I will keep in my life for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's so cool. And
they're incredible.
You were saying now you're at the MTC and you also have students?
So when I was at BYU, I had clinical students. I also taught at BYU while I was there.
Awesome.
And now I have students who work for me at the MTC.
That you teach and train.
So that's really fun. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool. So we kind of jumped in without even asking the question, what do you light up about? And I think this is obviously one of the big ones, is sport, medicine, and stuff. But what else would you add to the list? And then we'll take it in a different direction and go deeper.
Let's see. I just love learning about people. I think... And I love learning about people, and I love learning about people in the sense of helping someone not feel so alone. I think especially where you and I are at in our lives, and just especially within the culture of the church, being 30 and single and not married and don't have kids, and it can feel very lonely. And you don't always feel like somebody understands what that feels like, but they
Mm-hmm.
do. And so just getting out a little and having conversations with people and learning about people and their life experiences and what they can share with you and what you can share with them to form this connection, to just not feel so lonely. Even you can be alone, but you don't have to be lonely.
Mm.
And I think that's
Yeah.
something that I've learned the older that I've gotten, is that it's okay to be alone and spend time with yourself. And you can be alone and be okay, but being alone and feeling lonely, because you can feel lonely when you're around people.
Oh, totally.
And so
Yeah.
and I know how that feels. And I don't ever want anybody else to feel like that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you have any examples that come to your mind where you were like, "Oh wow, like that was so cool to help this person and build this friendship?"
I feel like I don't know if I've ever helped anybody.
You have.
I I know I have, but I feel like in the reverse, someone who's helped me
Mm.
is um her name is Carolyn, and I know if anybody knows who Carolyn Billings is, you would say she's the most incredible woman in the world. She was the director of sports medicine at BYU,
Wow.
and she really took me under her wing when I started working there. And I remember, I mean, I've had so many conversations with her, but I remember there was a point in time I was interviewing at other universities. I was trying to advance my career and was kind of looking at some other opportunities. And I had been talking to her about it. And I was really nervous about leaving Utah. And I was just nervous about taking a new job and moving and being on my own. And she had asked me why I was so nervous. And I just said,
Mm.
I have all these things that I want in my life. And if I move out of Utah, like that might not happen for me. And I
Mm.
remember her saying, "Well, has it happened for you yet living here?" And
Mm.
it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, "Well, no."
No.
But, and, and she shared the best piece of advice with me, which was, if you are doing the right thing with good intentions, the Lord will never keep a blessing from you. And so, wherever you're at trying to do good, whatever is meant for you is still going to be meant for you.
Hmm. I
And
like that.
that changed the way that I made decisions. And it changed the way that I started interacting with people, and really changed my mindset of where do I need to be and what do I need to be doing, to where do I need to be and who needs me there.
Hmm. Wow.
And that's something that I've had to really lean on throughout my life, and job changes and life changes in general, of maybe being in places that I don't want to be or doing things that I don't want to be or feeling like I should be somewhere else,
Mm.
and coming back to the question of, okay, somebody needs me here. I have been placed here for a reason. Who needs me here and who do I need to be looking for? And so
Wow.
really tying that all in of, somebody needs me here and I need to find who they are. And regardless of anything else that happens, if I can be that person for somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
then everything I'm doing is worth it.
Hmm. That's so cool. It's very outward focused. Like you were saying, it got stressful trying to be like, well, if I move outside of Utah, which so many people say this, they're like, my chances go down. But really, that's not the case. Like maybe your chances go up if you have a perspective switch, but that can happen where you are. You don't have to move. I think some people inflict change or move just to try to make things different, but what's the main thing that needs to be different is how you view people and how you view, excuse me, how you view yourself, which is kind of what you just described. That was really cool. I love that.
Yeah. Which, and I had, going back to your original question because I avoided it, but I had an experience where I was really struggling with where I was at, just everything in life, everything that comes with, being single and trying to date and
Yep.
job and life and all the things.
Totally.
And I just wanted to feel like I was making a difference. I felt like I was spinning my gears and just getting nowhere for myself or with anybody. And that week, I hope she's okay with me sharing this, but I had one of my sweet little employees texted me. It was at the end of the semester, and she said, "Hey, I just wanted to send this to you. I had to write a reflection about somebody from my class of how they've impacted me through the semester." And so she sent me this paper that she had written about me and the impact that I had had on her, which I had no idea, right? Like, you go to work and you try to be a good boss and, hope that they like you. But the things that she had outlined that I had done for her, which I never even had a thought about of how much that actually helped her.
Wow.
Of just, she came in one day and was really upset. So I just took her into my clinic and just sat her down and was like, okay, tell me what's going on. Let's work through it. Like, let's make sure you're okay before we're working. Like, it's more important to me that you're okay than this list of things that we need to get done. Right. And then reading that was so important to her, that I had done that without me thinking I'm about to go do something so important for her. Like, I'm going to do this and make her life so much better. Like, that never really crossed my
You didn't
mind.
even know.
I just wanted to make sure she was okay. And so I think just taking the opportunity to look outside of yourself and just help people feel better about themselves will always, always have a reward, whether you know it or not.
Yeah. And I feel like most of the time we don't know it. And that's probably better because then our heads would grow a little bit too big if we knew. But
Yeah,
we get reassurances though, and that propels us to do more good. Like you were saying,
absolutely.
and with the right
I
motives.
kind of, my mantra, if you will, is you should always live, you should always leave people, places, and things better than you found them. And so, regardless of you knowing the outcome of something, if you feel like you have done that, if you can walk away from something and feel like you made an attempt to make it better, then that was successful.
I love that. That is awesome. Do you have any other things that you light up about that you want to end the episode on? I also wanted to ask you dating advice because we had a really fun conversation about that once. So if you have anything else to share, and then other than that, we can jump into a little bit of dating advice with Kaleen.
Oh yes, we can jump into dating. I will. Okay, before this goes in with dating, this will be a nice transition.
Yay.
One of my other really big things, and I know people think I'm so weird for this, but I hate the golden rule. I think it's dumb.
Okay.
And but here's why. Right? Because it's do unto others that you would have done unto yourself, right? Like, treat other people the way you want to be treated, which is a great starting point. I think that is a great base thing.
Right.
But it takes out the work of getting to know somebody and treating them the way that they want to be treated. And just taking the extra effort to actually think if this is this actually going to be impactful to them? Is this actually a way that they want to receive this?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, well, that's what I would want somebody to do for me, so that's what I'm going to do. And anyway, that's something I will always have a discussion about.
I think I've heard about this before. I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, but it's I think they call it the platinum rule. It's like better than golden, and it's do unto others as they want to be treated. Basically, what you just said. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think, like you said, it's a good starting point, but then, like, just go, it's just going above and beyond. There's a book called Leadership and Self Deception, and it's basically viewing people like you were talking about. It's the lingo is viewing people outside of the box. When you're in the box, you're focused on, I mean, yourself, and you're focused on the job, and you forget people are people, right? And then outside of the box is like, okay, yeah, maybe this thing that was you're responsible for fell through, but it was more important to focus on the person, and that's always the winning. What do you call it? The winning plan is focusing on the person. I couldn't think of the right word, but
Yeah.
that's awesome. All right, what else, Kaleen?
Fire away on your dating questions.
I
I
just
know we've had
remember.
some really good conversations about dating.
Yeah, you mentioned a friend of yours hired a dating coach, and I was like, whoa, like that was becoming a thing for a little while. There's probably tons of dating coaches out there. I see it on TikTok everywhere. And you shared with me two things. One of the ones you shared with me was just using the word husband as if it's like going to happen and going to happen soon. Be like, oh yeah, me and my husband will do Sunday walks. And oh, when me and my husband make dinner, we'll do this. And like just bringing that up more just to help it manifest, as well as start preparing you to be like, how will you be with a husband? And then the second one, goodness, I can't remember the second one. Do you remember any other of the things your roommate has told you?
I can't remember.
I think I wrote them down somewhere.
I can't remember specifically. I mean, I've had so many conversations about dating. I think for me personally, the two biggest things I've started to use in my conversations about dating and my prayers about dating and just my efforts about dating is one, when a guy does something that completely just puts me off, I just say, my husband would never do that. My husband would never.
You say that to the guy.
And it's really helped me when I've made decisions about dating and been on the fence, and there are things that I just don't know if I'm okay with. And then I think, would my husband ever do that? And if the answer is, yeah, maybe he would do that, or no, my husband would never do that, there's my answer. Like, it really just is that simple. Now, I'm not saying that you need to figure out if the guy you're dating is your husband and be like, okay, well, if he was my husband, would he do this? But it just gives this frame of reference to know really what you're okay with moving forward, at least in my stage of life. I'm not super dating for fun. I'm definitely dating to be in a relationship. And so that has been really helpful to me.
Yeah.
And then the other part of dating that I've really tried to focus on is when something good happens, to say, yes, more please of that. Like, thank you for that. More of that, please, moving forward. And it's the same concept to me as like gratitude. And the more you look for things and are grateful for things, the more things you start to recognize. And it's the same thing with dating. If you are super negative about dating and there's nobody and it's awful and everything is terrible, that's all you're ever going to see.
Wow.
Which I am 1000% guilty of, right? Like, I don't think anyone's ever gone through a phase of their life where they've loved dating the whole time, but just changing my mindset of, that was good. I can have more of that. There are good guys. There are more of them. There is plenty out there, but you're only going to see what you're looking for. And so if you want to see the good and find the good, you will. I'm not saying it's easy by any means. I'm not saying like you can just walk out the door and there they are. I'm not saying that, but how you feel about dating is determined by you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that doesn't mean you're not going to have a bad date or, things are going to come up, but your mindset of dating is 100% controlled by you. And that's how it's going to be. And that's also how it's going to be reciprocated of the person you're dating, right? If you're like, dating is awful, blah, blah, I hate it, I hate first dates, and like the person you're on a date with or dating will be like, yeah, you know, blah, blah, this is terrible, you know? And so you have to leave the opportunity open for good things to happen.
I love that. Oh, I love that.
And I've heard this on other podcasts and things, but I know that a lot of people use the word no as next opportunity. So, like, that was a no. That just means next opportunity. Like, we're just moving forward. We're on to the next. And that's how I've really also tried to not be so like, oh man, this didn't work out. I was either really excited about it or X, Y, and Z. But this was a no, which just means there's another opportunity.
Cool. Oh, I love that. And last but not least, this is kind of throwing you on the spot, but if there is a quote that you love, I love to end my episodes with a quote. If you don't have one off the top of your head, I can look it up and add it to the show notes, but just a quote that's impacted you or that you're focused on right now.
A quote. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know I have so many.
You're good.
I'm trying to think. Actually, I have one. Hold on, I have one in my scriptures right here, and it's one of my favorites. It doesn't really have to do with anything we've talked about, but it is one of my favorite quotes. Hold on. Let me find it. Now I'm going to be so devastated if I don't have it in here.
No, this is awesome. I was also going to quote you, like just
here it is.
The reference more than that. I love that, what you were talking about earlier. Okay, glad you found the quote.
Okay, this is actually really old. This came from a Mormon message, and it was
nice.
A Father's Day Mormon message. And so it's like the guy is narrating it and he's talking about God. So it's his narration of what Heavenly Father would be saying to you. And it says, I'm far but close, always thinking of you. I do it all for you. I work that you may grow. You see so little of how it all came to be, never questioning, only trusting. And then he switches back, the guy switches back to him, and he says, all that I am and all that I have is because he is a father to me.
Wow.
And so I think it's just great to like also remember that of how divinely intertwined our